All right, welcome to Football Focus Weekly, Week 7. We're at the mid-season point already. I know it's crazy. Pepman, Matt Morrow here. Thanks for watching and joining with us. We got a full show tonight, but I want to start off by sending my thoughts, prayers, and condolences to Mallard Creek High School for the loss of Fred Hammond, beloved assistant coach with that program. You know, for the longest, I can remember, players and friends and coaches at Mallard Creek would talk about the garage and, kids going to this garage and lifting weights. And, for the life of me, as long as I was a coach, throughout the years, I kept wondering, what is this deal with this garage and these guys working out, usually in the summer or during dead period or, stuff like that. And, I never got to meet Mr. Hammond, unfortunately, but, for someone to take their home and open it up to so many kids and, just turn it into a weight room and, that was a great place of team building and team bonding, and showing genuine love for those kids is amazing. And he did it for a long time. And, I was a former coach in the community. I didn't work, in the school. And to be a community coach, it's a special commitment, especially if you want to do it the right way. And, for this gentleman to do that, for so many years, just speaks to an incredible level of generosity, caring, and just the incredible dedication to Mallard Creek. And, one of the things we talked about over the years is Mallard Creek and their culture. And, culture is built by going through things together, as teammates, as players, as coaches. And a lot of that culture was developed in that garage, that Coach Hammond, was so generous with and put together, for all of those Mallard Creek players. So, I saw the video from the vigil since 2010. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And that's amazing. That's amazing dedication. And I saw the vigil and so many people there with the balloon release, and it's such a tragedy. It's such a tragedy to lose people that are really dedicated, to the sport, especially to one program and doing things out of the kindness of their heart and the love for kids. And so once again, it's a terrible loss, and my prayers go out to Mallard Creek community, their coaches, their players, families, and everyone that were attached to Mr. Fred Hammond. So that being said, we'll go ahead and roll it open. We'll be right back and we'll get started. Week 7, Football Focus Weekly. This is Football Focus Weekly with CFI, Charlotte Football Insiders. All right, welcome back. Welcome to Football Focus Weekly. Pepman, Matt Morrow. We opened the show talking about Fred Hammond, Malik Creek assistant football coach, tragically lost his life last Friday. Jason Bass, definitely condolences to Malik Creek family and community for sure, man. That's tough, man. I hate that. I really do. I'm sorry, Ralph Hammond. I've been saying the wrong name, Ralph Hammond. I'm sorry about that. We do have one person of the crew here with us, and that is the engine off of a week off, Kenneth McClamrock.
What's up, Pat?
What's up, man? Glad to have you back, and you got your Panther hat on because they won, I'm assuming.
You daggone right, man. Down with the Saints.
Yeah, I got that pick wrong, but I was glad to get that pick wrong.
I mean, not that I'm wearing it because you bet against the Panthers and you lost, Pat. That has nothing to do with it.
I'm having a terrible season. But it's all good. Glad to see you, man. And the rest of the crew will join us a little later on, except for Big Shelby, who took some PTO, but hopefully we'll see him on Friday Night Live or CFI After Dark, whatever you want to call it. But Kenneth will be right back, and I'm going to get started on Pepman's Players. And, of course, Pepman's Players is sponsored by VTO Sports. So we're going to get them going on the screen right. Let's do that the other way. There we go. Oh, there we go. All right. Okay, so on Pepman's Players, we're going to start with a lot of guys from Huff and Chambers last Friday night. Starting with Huff, Markel Quick, wide receiver. He was the guy that took the opening kickoff back for a touchdown and kind of set the tone of the game. He also had 7 receptions in that victory over Chambers. We interviewed him after the game. We put his highlight up at halftime of the kickoff return. You can check him out. His Twitter is at Markel Quick. Smart man to put your name as your Twitter. It helps coaches find you when they're looking for you on Twitter, and recruitment and things of that nature. So keep that in mind. Just a little small recruiting tip there. All right, over to Chambers. Defensive lineman Zarion Jackson Bass, a regular on Pepman's Players because he continues to go out there and dominate. I had him for 2 sacks. He might have had more. He had several pressures and solo tackles in that loss to Huff. You see his Twitter right there. Jackson Bass, the 4s replace the A's. He is a regular on this segment, man. And absolutely engine. Yeah. It's crazy. All right. Back over to Huff. Linebacker Anthony Walker. He was number 3. He changed numbers on me. Last year he was number 42, and I kept looking for him, and then I realized he was number 3. So, it made a lot of sense when I saw what he was doing. Multiple tackles. I think they had him for 3 sacks. And he paired well. They really schemed up a good scheme when they were putting him on the same side as Brandon Palmer, who's number 0, who's got a lot of Division I offers. So, they put him along with Palmer on the same side, and it's hard enough to block Palmer by himself. But then you had him coming off the edge along with him. It was really tough, and that's really good coaching. And his Twitter is at Anthony N. Walker 6. Really, really good player right there for Huff, and that strong linebacking core had a good game overall. All right, back over to Chambers. DB Dontre Anderson, number 8. He had a big interception in the first half to stop a Huff drive. I felt like he kept good pass coverage all along throughout the game. And he had a couple of really good tackles as well. There were some catches, but he was able to tackle well in space. They didn't get much, after the catch. His Twitter is at Dontre Henderson1. I like that. I like the 1 Henderson 1. Yeah, that's good stuff. I like that. All right, back over to Huff. A lot of talent on the field Friday night. DB Xavier Mcintyre. I felt like he did a good job in pass coverage all night long against a very talented group of Chambers wide receivers. He was number 5, and I saw him a couple of times one-on-one with Kevin Concepcion. He had a couple of pass breakups in that one-on-one matchup. Really, really good job, man. Really, really good job. His Twitter is at Xavier Mcintyre 5. I remember he did come to the HBCU Carolina Showcase. I thought he did a good job there as well. So, I mean, I see a jive with Ma'Khil Williams. I'll tell you, man, usually I only do like 2 or 3 players, from the game we go to. But I felt like I could have done 2 pages of players because they were all, so impressive with high-level talent. And they all kind of did things to impact the game. So, yeah, Akil, that touchdown catch, that was a great play as well. So, a lot of great talent. And, we'll continue to highlight talent off of these teams, of course, throughout the season. Okay, so let's go to some other ones that were submitted through various means. Our next guy, and I was so happy to see him have a great game, is Garinger quarterback Narada Nesbitt. And a lot of you, may not know who Narada is, but when I covered Garinger against West Charlotte, I saw something in this young man. We all know what the situation is at Garinger, and he would not give up. That's the one thing that I loved about him when I saw him against West Charlotte. And I felt like if he could just, have some time, when he's in the pocket to do some things, it looks like he has, some ability. And if you go and look at the highlight film on his Twitter, which is right there, Narada Nesbitt JR4, you'll be really impressed. I mean, this guy is a dual threat quarterback. He can run very well. He was responsible for 4 touchdowns for Garinger, in the game against East Mecklenburg. And, illustrious Coach Phillips is also adding in. He also had an interception and an onside kick on top of that. So, many people can't say that ever in their career. And he had all that in one game. That's great, man. It's really, really great. I'm so happy for the young man. I talked to him before that West Charlotte game. I feel like, he's got some real talent, man. And this goes back to what I say, all the time, that every school in Charlotte has talent. It's just a matter of, how much talent do you have, and can you get it all going in the right direction at the same time. So but great job to Narada. Very, very happy for that young man. Over to Concord, another regular athlete, Keon Phillips. I call him athlete because he plays quarterback and he plays some DB for the Spiders. Friday night, he had 19 carries for 232 yards and 2 touchdowns in the victory over Central Cabarrus. His Twitter is at Keon_PH. Check him out. Really good player. Providence Day, Coach Chad Greer sent me some good information from his game when they defeated Christ School last Friday night. We'll start with quarterback Jaden Davis. incredible performance right here. But how many times have people said that about him? He's number 1 quarterback in 2024 for a reason. 25 of 29, 319 yards, 5 touchdown passes. This is the part that really stood out. He completed his first 19 passes in a victory, like I said, over Christ School. His Twitter is I am Jaden Davis. If you're watching this show, you need to go follow him. He's going to be big time. And he's going to get to go to the school of his choice. He's got offers from everyone you can think of. So, yeah, go follow him, support him. And you never know, what his career could go from college and, possibly to the next level higher than that. And he's really a really great young man. I've interviewed him before. Well-spoken, very intelligent, and his physical talent is off the charts. He's a total package. Also at Providence Day, on the defensive side of things, linebacker Keon Abdul Rahim Really good game, 14 tackles, tackle for loss, 2 sacks, and a quarterback hurry in that victory. His Twitter is his name, at Keon Rahim with 2 A's in Keon. I really like watching his film. I think he's a talented kid that can definitely play at the next level also. All right, let's take a look at some more players. All right, back over to Porter Ridge. Athlete Danny Kennedy, he had been out for a couple weeks. He's back on the field, and he, showed out. 119 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 19 for Monroe. That's a good win for Porter Ridge. I think Monroe is one of the best 2A teams in the state. His Twitter is at Danny Kennedy _4. Hickory Ridge, Jalen Harris had another really good game. Although it was in a loss, it was impressive. 6 catches, 177 yards, and 2 touchdowns. His Twitter is at Jalen _Harris 8. 6'3" wide receiver that can do it all. And his recruitment is picking up as well for that reason. All right, back in Porter Ridge, athlete Stephen Psyakowski. We featured him a couple times in his career. 11 tackles on defense, 101 rushing yards on offense in that same victory over Monroe. His Twitter is at Stephen Zayak 25. He's committed to Charleston Southern. I think Charleston Southern really got a steal with that young man. You talk about a leader and a guy that just will not quit on the football field. That's Mr. Zyakowski right there. All right, getting outside of Charlotte, this was a good one. Wallace Rose Hill, running back Ja'Cory Boney. I watched this film. This was really cool. 15 rushes for 252 yards and 2 touchdowns in the victory over South Lenoir. His Twitter is at Ja'Cory the Great. You go watch that film. I love his vision, and I say that because their offense is kind of like they have, they do like it's double tight from gun, and I guess it's a version of the wing T, and they motion him a lot. It's a lot of straight motion, and he's coming downhill at the snap, which is not easy to do. It's not your traditional, running back, kind of setup when he's coming from the backfield. He's always coming off the wing, it seems. And he does a really good job. He does a good job. Go check out that highlight film, man. I really like what they do up at Wallace Rose Hill, man. It's good stuff. All right, I was hoping Big Chevy was here so he could talk about Isaiah, but we can still talk about him because he was a top 5 player for our HBCU Carolina Showcase, and they call him Flash, and Flash really flashed hard. 4 catches for 80 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a 64-yard rushing touchdown in their victory. Check him out on his Twitter at Isaiah Bridges 28, and he's speed personified, absolutely. Over to East Gaston, defensive back Jace Rowe. Good game, interception, punt block, and 4 tackles in their victory. His Twitter is at Jace _Rowe 2. Good overall game there, affecting the game in a lot of different ways, man. That's what a Pepman player does. Makes an impact on the football game. All right, we got some more. Let's keep going. Over to Mooresville, quarterback Jamir Cherry, 3 touchdown passes and a touchdown run in their victory over Hickory Ridge. You see his Twitter right there at Jamir Cherry. I wrote about him on Prep Red Zone, and one of the things that I said was I was really impressed because I just saw him the week before, and Hickory Ridge was geared up, to take away the run after they, ran, pretty well against Cox Mill. So the opportunities were going to be there, and to see him capitalize on those opportunities, not only throwing the football but running it, that is a really good sign for that Blue Devils football team if he's able to take advantage when teams put 8-9 guys in the box to try to slow down the run. All right, over to South Point. He's becoming a regular. Defensive back Will Ross, I really like this kid. 11 tackles and 3 passes defense in the victory over Hunter Huss. His Twitter is at Will with Ross and the 4 S's on there. Will _Ross with the 4 S's on there. Physical DB. He's got good speed, and he can make plays on the ball, and he will be tested. We're going to talk about big game, Crestat South Point, coming up this Friday night. A big one in the Big South Conference. All right, over to Cannon. Running back Will Jones. He's been on here before, and he's back on here for good reason. 200 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns in the victory. Up at Cannon, that was a home game. Twitter is at Jones_Will11. Really, really great performance. He's had plenty over the years for the Division II state champs last season. Really good player with ACC interest from a recruiting standpoint. He's a talented young man. All right, over to Charlotte Christian. Running back Karan Jones, another good overall game, 130 total yards of offense and 2 touchdowns. I also wanted to spotlight him because he picked up an offer from Kentucky, which we always want to celebrate our area kids when they get offers like that from big Division I schools. You see Kentucky's having a pretty good season, so that tells you about the talent that this young man has. His Twitter is at Karan KJ, another young man who is speed personified when he gets the ball in his hands. Pine Lake continues to be undefeated on the season with different guys stepping up each week. This time, athlete Noah Murphy, 124 rushing yards and a touchdown, and also an interception, in their victory last week. And Noah, I tried to find a Twitter for you. If you got one, let me know, but you can reach out to the team football Twitter at Pine Lake Prep FB to get more information on Noah. But congratulations to that young man. Congratulations to Pine Lake. They got a big game this week going up against Christ the King, who is also undefeated. And we'll touch on that one a little bit later on. And then Cox Mill quarterback Dymere Edwards. He had 4 touchdown passes in limited action in their big victory over West Cabarrus. He told me he played about a little over a half in that game. And 4 touchdown passes in a half of football. It's pretty good. Get your own Pepman's players. His Twitter is at Edwards Dymere. And they are playing Monday against A.L. Brown at 6:30. I think that's the only varsity Monday game. There'll be some JV games Monday due to Hurricane Ian. So, all right. Once again, Pepman's Players sponsored by VTO Sports. Make sure you check out VTOsports.com for some of your camp interest when it's camp season in the spring and the summer. VTO Sports does a great job with that and helping kids prepare for the summer camp circuit and getting them additional exposure to coaches across the United States. All right. Week 7 storylines, we're going to bring the crew back. And, oh my God, for the second week in a row, guess who's here? Joe Hughes!
There he is.
Oh, man. What's up?
Can't complain too much. Big week of football coming up, man. I can't miss this, right?
Well, I'm glad you're here, man. We gonna get used to having you now.
He's got the fresh cut, Joe. It looks good, brother.
Thank you much. My wife appreciates it as well.
Oh man. Well, I can't say nothing about that, but anyway, let's talk a little bit. And I think the producer will be on in just a minute, but I'll put the video out there. You guys have seen it because I sent it to you guys first before I put it out there. So the West Charlotte West Meck missed call controversy. If you haven't seen it, and you're watching this show, I don't know where you've been because it's been
Not
out
on Twitter.
So obviously, this play happened on a 3rd down in the first quarter of the game, and ball was thrown. It hits the DB near his face mask and hits the ground clearly on the video, and then receiver picks it up and acts like he caught it, and referee signals touchdown. So we all know referees or officials make bad calls, but this one especially was, one of the worst, if not the worst, that I've ever seen, at least throughout, my years of football. So I'll just let you guys talk about it. What do you think? Kenneth, I'll let you go first as a former head coach, and I know you've had bad calls happen to you, but what do you think about this?
Pep, I have to apologize first because on Twitter, I retweeted it and I said the umpire ruled this a completion and a touchdown. I had several official friends who are officials reach out to me, and they assured me that the umpire who stands behind the defensive line did not rule a touchdown on this. that he is a great umpire. That, in fact, when you see him raising his hands, he's raising his hands to tell the receiver to throw him the ball back, that he did not rule on that. Pep, in 2012, we were playing at Hickory Ridge. I was an assistant coach at Concord, and they were driving late in the fourth quarter, and on a fourth down, the ball hits Hickory Ridge receiver in the chest. Ball clearly hit the ground. The kid dives to his knees, and they ruled it a complete and a first down. And then the next player, 2 plays later, they run a little trick play. They score. Ball game over. Hickory Ridge won the conference championship, the South Piedmont Conference Championship that night, off of a bad call. We had not videos then, but we had one of the greatest photographers of all time, Dale Barbie, had incredible pictures of the ball hitting the kid in the chest, hitting the ground, rolling out, all that kind of stuff. Pep, but you're right. I mean, my very last game I ever coached in the playoffs, I got one of those. Coach McClamrock, we're so sorry that we made such an egregious call in your game that potentially cost you the game. But there's nothing we can do about it except to suspend this official for the playoffs, for the rest of the playoffs, or for the season. I've gotten many of those emails. There's nothing we can do about it. At the end of the day, officials are human. They do make mistakes. High school officials are humans. They do make mistakes. They make $100 a game to do what they do. Is an extremely tough job. They drive to get there. They get off work early sometimes. They fight traffic like we all do to get there. They have bad days. They're wise. And talking to some officials who actually talked to officials at that game, what they all said was every official was just at the most perfect place to be blocked. Whether it was the referee who stands behind the quarterback, whether it was the 2 wings, the head linesman and the lines judge who stands on either sideline, whether it was the back judge, that all of them were blocked. I couldn't figure out who actually called the touchdown. I couldn't get anybody to actually confess on that. But, you hate it for West Meck, not throwing shade at West Charlotte. Obviously, those kids played their butts off. It was a 7-0 game, but you hate it for West Meck, who seems like they're in the midst of a pretty special season right now, especially Pep, as you brought up. It was the automatic bid for the 3A from that conference. You especially hate it for West Meck.
Absolutely, man. Joe, you want anything to share on that?
Yeah, you watch it, and of course you have to have some sympathy for West Meck and everything that, because that was a hard fought football game that could have went either way. Excuse me. But of course you're gonna have those that want to just throw the referees under the bus and kind of lump them with that. Mistakes happen, but you hate to see it happen, especially at such a point like that where the stakes are so high.
Yeah, the thing about it is, and I've heard both sides obviously, and the thing I said, I was on ESPN 730 podcast.
Say that again, Pat.
Yeah, ESPN 730 podcast yesterday. It'll be out soon, I think. But anyway, so one of the things that kept coming up was, it happened in the first quarter. So, if it happened in the fourth quarter, I think we have even a bigger controversy because West Meck wouldn't have the chance, to kind of rectify that. But the fact that it happened in the first quarter, I think kind of takes a little steam off of it because, the counter argument is, well, you had 3 other quarters, to make a difference. Yeah. And, it obviously it didn't happen, but, and we talked about, is there a way to make it right? And, to your point, Kenneth, there's nothing in place right now that, can make it right. Some people have talked about replay, but I don't see it happening, not anytime soon, because everyone has to have the same framework or setup and ability to do that. And, you think about some of these, 1A schools that, don't have the same, setups like, a Huff or a Chambers or even a West Meck in this case to, have that, I think we're a long ways away, from getting
Just
stuff like
imagine
this
all the
corrected.
complaining about the NFHS camera, right? The people are paying. So could you imagine what it would take, the infrastructure, to put some type of replay technology inside every football? How many football playing schools are there in North Carolina? A lot. That's a lot of money. And then, the schools would have to sign off on it. The state would have to sign off on it. The officials associations would have to sign off on it.
That's it.
A lot of people don't realize is every area has an officials association. Here in Cabarrus County, we're Metrolina Officials Association, which is different than North State, which is where, but then even inside conferences and inside of counties, you have multiple officials associations. So if you play a home game at North Rowan, your officials may be different than if you play at East Rowan, which is crazy to think about. But there's so much that would have to go into that, so much. We've all been on the winning sides of bad calls, and we've been on the bad side. It sucks a lot worse when you're on the bad side of it.
Absolutely, man. And once again, I hate it for West Meck, but you got to just, move on, man.
Kudos to number one for holding that ball up.
One of the things that we, I always used to say as coaches, don't leave any doubt. And, this kind of applies, in that same breath for sure. All right. I want to talk about this because this is a theme that, when we play, well, not even when we play, but when I coached years back, we wouldn't even thought about this, but we're seeing teams that are losing, by big scores, putting out highlights from the game that they lose by a lot. And I just wanted to put this out there. And Kenneth, I know, we feel passionate about this, so I'm going to let you go first. Should teams be putting out highlights when they're getting blown out by 30-plus points?
Yeah, Pep, I was a big believer in decals, right? So if the team achieves certain goals, then players get decals. I didn't do individual decals. These were all team-oriented decals. So, for example, if the defense's goal was to hold an opponent under 200 yards, and we did that, every player who played one snap on defense got a decal for that particular goal. We had 10 goals every year. I think we were like 12 goals. 4 goals on offense, 4 goals on defense, 4 goals on special teams. But the number one goal was you had to win. If you won, every single player on the team got a decal. Even if they didn't play, even if they didn't dress out, they got a decal. But you had to win in order to get the decals. There was no way in HE double hockey sticks I was going to encourage games that we did not win, because winning is what matters. They keep score for a reason. I definitely would not have been putting out highlight reels. That's me. Call me old-fashioned. I can show you ways that I wasn't old-fashioned, but that's just me. That said, Pep, I guess teams are spending excess of a couple $100 a week on these highlight reels, and if you're spending that kind of money on a highlight reel, you want to have it out there. But I've seen some of these highlight reels, and they're kind of slim. They're like 90 seconds long, and 47 seconds are in pregame, then warm it up, because there wasn't a whole lot of highlights to put on there. I'm just not down with it. If a kid wants to put it out, if an individual coach wants to put it out, but for me personally, it wouldn't come from any social media account that is team-based.
You had me when you said the warm-up highlights.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yes, I do. And it's so funny. I see. Yeah, exactly. Now, these guys do awesome work, man. And
they are great videos. We got
they are. And I never would have guessed that the warm-ups are more popular than the game. It's crazy to me. Joe, you want to weigh in on this?
You're right. The warm-ups are the warm-ups do tend to be more of what the footage is than the game is, because the game is pretty much the same, but that's neither here nor there. In terms of putting out a highlights, I applaud the consistency. That's all I can really say about it. After that, I can't really do it. I don't want to see it. I barely even can watch when my team loses. I don't see how anyone really goes back and watches and says, hey, my kid was on that one right there. They got beat 52-0, but they were there.
Say that again, Joe.
All right, we'll bring in a producer. What's up, super producer?
Glad to be here. Feeling good. First thing I heard when I got in was 52-0. So I guess that's where we are right now. Okay.
So we're talking about teams that are making highlight videos when they get beat like 52-0. What do you got to say about that?
I don't think it should happen. I don't really think there's anything to celebrate as a team. Right. Now, could an individual player who made some good plays add a play or two from that game to their own individual highlight reel? Absolutely. I think that's fine, because there could have been some individual good plays a player could add to their own highlight reel. But as a team, there's nothing to celebrate. You can take that film and analyze it, but there's nothing to be putting out there and showcasing. No, not in my opinion. I don't think it should happen. If you get blown out, there's nothing to celebrate there. That means there's work to do, not celebrate. In my opinion, maybe I'm old school. I
think we're all old school, because
yeah,
and it's not just one team. I ain't gonna name nobody, but there's multiple teams out here. And like you said, Kenneth, it's not very long, because there's not a lot of good stuff that goes into it. And
you can tell the difference between when a team wins and when they lose, because the quality is totally different when it's a win and totally different when it's a loss. You can tell the whole vibe. The whole vibe is different.
Exactly. So my thing is, cut up the good plays, save them for another video, man.
Like end of the season highlight.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. I mean, I just it's crazy to me, man. It's absolutely crazy. Thank you, Patrick. I'll tell you, there are some kids that just want to look good and put this stuff on social media, but and I'm sure that's part of it. But they can get their shine when they win. That's the incentive of winning. Shine.
Right.
You
definitely shine when you win. That's for sure.
Most important kind of shine.
I mean, I know it's important. I mean, look at our camps. We have a ton of media, probably too much media at the camp, because we trying to give everybody their shine. So, I get it, but it's the season. That's about winning. It's about winning in the season, man.
The wins bring people flocking.
Oh, yeah.
It's just natural.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. All right. There was a little bit of controversy up in the Raleigh area where our friend Scott Chadwick over at Clayton High School was accused of running up the score by Garner head coach. And there was some controversy after the game where he told his team not to shake hands, and the Garner parents were upset. And they kind of got heated, and it got on video, and it was, not a very pretty situation. For the record, in that game, Clayton only scored 7 points in the second half with their backup, players in the game. So, and Coach Chadwick said as much, when he was asked about it. So, but we know there have been indicators or situations in the past where, teams have, ran the score up or tried to run the score up. So, how do you handle someone when they're trying to run the score up on you, or if you're accused of running the score up on them? Kenneth, I'll let you go first on that.
Pep, this is something that I don't take issue with. Way back in the early 2000s when I was a young coach, Tommy Knotts was at Independence. They were up 49-0. They scored with less than a minute to go in the first half, and he proceeds to kick an onside kick. They recovered. They throw a touchdown. Chris Leak, 56-0 going into halftime. I don't have an issue with that. In 2009, we were at Concord High School. We lost our first 6 games that year. Loss number 5 was to, well, I won't say the school because then you'll know what coach I'm talking about. But we lost to a coach who up somewhere in the proximity of 28-7 throws a 40-yard fade route late in the fourth quarter to go up 35-7. And I did say something that time because I'm a little bit of a hothead. We'll walk through the line. I'm a young assistant coach. I look at the coach and I just say, yeah, we got you there. Well, fast forward a couple of weeks, we beat them in the playoffs because we went on a 6-0 run late in the season. And walking back through the line, I said, I bet you won't throw a fade up by 30 plus with 4 minutes to go again. But that's how I dealt with it. I could not wait to get my revenge later on. And then I usually would make a pretty smart comment to do it. But as far as having the score run up the score, it's football, man. Your job is to stop us. Our job is to score. And if my second and third string quarterback is in there throwing touchdowns, I was okay with that because my second and third string quarterbacks, they worked hard too. And so they needed to get some highlight, get some shine for them boys as well.
That's well said, man. We'll talk after the show about who that was.
I'm still pissed off at him. That's how it is. 2009.
Joe, you want to comment on this?
All I really got to say is, hey, they practice too. If you're doing, everyone has that little section of time. Hey, that might be the only 5 minutes that a kid gets in. If their ultimate goal is to get that touchdown or that first down or make that catch or whatever it may be, they're just doing as they practiced and as their coach told them to do. Isn't that what everyone's supposed to be doing in the first place? I don't really, unless there's this deliberate malice that you would be able to see from a game in particular. I don't have a problem with it necessarily.
All right, very good, very good. Super producer, you want to chime in on this?
Yeah, I pretty much sort of echo the sentiments of McClamrock and Hughes here because I think if a team's up big in the first half and they only score once in the second half, to me, that's pretty much proof I'm not trying to run it up. Because obviously I got the same players on my team that I had in the first half. So if I wanted to run it up, I would just duplicate that same effort I had in the first half. I could do it to you again if I wanted to. So to me, that's not a deliberate effort. And like they said, some of these kids are very deep on the roster in the depth chart on a very good team. So that literally garbage time might be the only time they get to play. So me personally, I've never been a head coach, but if I was, hey, I'll take that heat if my second or third string quarterback gets in the game and gets to throw a touchdown. That's something he's going to keep with him the rest of his life. He's probably not going to play on Saturday. This is the only time he's going to get to play football. So I'll take that heat. You know what I mean? So that's how I see it.
Sorry, Brandon, you reminded me of in 2018, we were a pretty good football team. And a team that actually, Pep, you and I just talked about, who's undefeated right now. Facebook memories popped up. We beat them 56-0 tonight, 4 years ago. In that game, North Carolina has a mercy rule. When you get up 42 points in the second half, the clock continues to run. Well, in that season, we had several games where we had a running clock in the second half. And this is where it really hurt us, Pep, because we were so low on depth. So what ended up happening, we put those seconds and those third string guys in. Well, they only got like 9 plays on offense the entire second half because of the running clock. 9 plays isn't a lot of game experience. So what hurt us was whenever we had starters that went down, those guys who took their place didn't have game experience. So North Carolina already has a mercy rule in place, which I personally don't like for that exact reason. But Brandon made me think about that. Let him play, man. Let him play.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think as long as you're my overall feeling of that, as long as you're clearing your bench and you're letting the guys play, then to me, I don't see any harm. Now, if you're keeping your starters in and you got your 4-star Notre Dame commit in there slinging touchdowns, then yeah, I might. But if you're letting everyone play, I don't see anything wrong with it.
Brandon Pep, y'all remember the 97-0 beatdown in K-Town?
We talked about that.
My next statement.
We talked about that recently.
Absolutely.
We talked about that.
Nick was still in there late.
Well, there was a reason behind that. There was a reason behind it.
Was the running clock thing around back then? That was 20-some years ago. I didn't think so.
Fairly recent, last decade or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's go to some comments, and I'll share a quick story after the comments here. So, Chat Administrator, what's up, man? What's up? Remember when Mooresville got blamed for running it up on Huffs? You just don't want to use that example, huh? You wanted to put that score out there. Oh, man. I'll let you have that one, Chat Administrator. I know it's been a while.
He's been holding that one a while. He went up. That was his chance.
Terrence Losh. No such thing as run up the score. Prepare your team to stop the other team. Every kid on that team practices every day. Only time I would even consider it is if starters are obviously still playing major minutes. Yep, exactly. Coach Trotter, what's up, man? Been on both sides. Backups deserve a chance to play, execute offense. They practice every day and won't ask backups not to play hard.
That's a great point. That goes against everything you're trying to teach them. If you do that, get in there and try a little bit. No, you can't say that.
Yeah. So the key word here is backups. That's the key word. Now, I'll tell you this, and this is the truth. In the 90s at Harding, I feel like teams took out all their frustration of Tommy Knott's beating them for years. Because there were instances where the score was ran up on us. There was run up. I mean, there were starting quarterbacks in there throwing it deep, trying to put another touchdown on, and I mean it was bad. It was bad, and we would get mad. We get mad about it because we didn't beat you. It was Tommy Knott's. I mean, you got a problem. Take it up with him. And they say, yeah, that was for 89.
God dog.
Wasn't here at 89.
My older brother.
I was 8 years old.
Right.
But here's a quick story. So I was coaching at Waddell, and we're playing on the road, and I'm not going to name the school. But we were down about, I think, 3 touchdowns, fourth quarter, and the team kicks an onside kick in the fourth quarter, and it's like 5 minutes left, and we're like, you know how you do on the sideline. You looking at the other coaches like, what are you doing? What are you doing? So they had a very famous person at the game, and he was going to give them a donation after the game, just as a nice gesture, to the program. So this nice person, famous person, if I said his name, you know who he was instantly, came up to us after the game, after we shook hands, and said, hey, I was going to give this to this school, but I don't believe in what they were doing over there. That was not right. So you guys take this and you have yourselves a great night. He gave us $500 cash. And producer, I told you this story before.
Yeah, I remember.
He gave us $500 cash and said, there's a certain restaurant right down the street. You go have yourselves a good time. So we had 2 coaches drive the bus back. The rest of us went over to this establishment, and we had a nice time. So that was the one instance where running the score up paid.
$500 can get you about 20 wings at the French Quarter, right?
Well, the year that this happened, wings were not skyrocketing in price, so we had a lot of wings.
Hey, I take an onside kick for $500 worth of chicken, so kick it again. I think that was a fair trade, man.
A lot of wings and a lot of Kool-Aid that night. Wow. A lot of wings and a lot of Kool-Aid.
Kool-Aid.
All right.
Kool-Aid.
All right, real quick on the last topic. Can postseason all-star games, such as the Queen City Senior Bowl, help you in recruiting? Kenneth, what's your thoughts on that?
Absolutely, Pep. I mean, you'll know this name before I will. It's escaping my head. But way back in the early to mid 2000s, Harden had a running back, little short guy who played in the East-West game. That was in July. I'll never forget. I was at the game. I saw Catawba College's coaching staff behind the end zone back when they could go to the East-West game. And he had such an incredible game. They offered him on the spot. Of course, these all-star games can help in your recruiting. It's another opportunity to get plays on film. It's another opportunity for coaches to see you against incredible talent. Absolutely. If you're a high school senior and you don't have the scholarship offers that you want yet, you should be playing, you should be registered for the Queen City Bowl, and you should be registered for the Winter Showcase on December the 10th at Mallard Creek High School.
All right, I had myself muted. But yes.
What was
absolutely.
that kid's name? Pat, little running back. Early to mid 2000s.
Jamel Cuthbertson.
Jamel Cuthbertson. That's exactly it. That joker ran wild in the East-West game. And I'll never forget, I saw the Catawba's coaches come up to him as soon as the game ended, boom, met him like while they were shaking hands and offered him on the spot. And he ended up having a great career at Catawba.
Yes, he did. You know, he was on the 2017 staff that won the championship. He was with me in 2014 when I was at Harding. And he's a great young man. And I got some funny stories about Jamel. You know, he would always, you know, and real quick, he would always, you know, be in practice, and he wasn't a starter at the time, but he would always say, man, put me in, man. I'll run the ball. And he, you know, he hadn't, you know, got his deep voice yet, so he had that little high-pitched voice, and you were like, man, let this kid be quiet, man. Who is this kid? And he just kept going every day, put me in. So one day, our offensive coordinator at the time said, man, just put him in there and let him get hit, see what happened. We put him in there. It was the best decision we ever made. You know, you got some of those kids that, you know, the light bulb comes on when you give them the chance. They don't look like anything in drills or, you know, going through stuff, but, you know, they get that opportunity and then, you know, they just show out, and that's what he did. He did, man, and he took it and he ran with it. And, yeah, that's a great example, man. You guys, Joe, producer, you got anything to add on that?
I was going to say, I think it's, you know, in my opinion, it would be great because you're literally going up against the best. So, you know, yeah, you know, I've heard it come up where some people say, you know, bring up that a lot of, you know, a particular player's highlights might be going against, you know, subpar competition or competition that isn't that great. Well, like he said, if you're running all through top competition, you're literally running against the best and making plays against the best, and that's saying something, because especially, you know, like a lot in the bowl game, you're literally playing against future college players. So if you're making plays against the best, that's gonna literally prove something. So it has to.
It's good stuff, man. Good stuff. Couple comments before we move on. Let's see right here. Jason Bass said every rep is valuable. Up 40, down by 40. Use every rep to get better. It's not losing, it's learning. Really good point. Really good
philosophy point there.
Exactly that.
Terrence Losh about Mallard Creek here. Mallard Creek the first year got blown out quite a few times. Coach Paul Mary told the boys to remember that feeling. He never got upset at the other team. The next 10 years, well, you know the story. I'm going to tell you something right now. We played Mallard Creek that first year, and we beat them pretty good at Harding their first year. And then we had that return match at Mallard Creek, and what they did, they remembered. They remembered, and you know, they returned the feeling, and they were really good, man. They were really good. Let's see here. All right, well, let's move on. We got now. Y'all gonna clown me on this one. The Dirty Baker's dozen this week. With a little extra team on there. A little extra team this week. Because I couldn't make a decision.
And it said edge.
Baker's dozen.
Sponsored by the Queen City Senior Bowl. Make sure seniors Go to QueenCitySeniorBowl.com to register for the opportunity to play in the Queen City Senior Bowl. We've had 90 kids register already in less than a week, which is amazing. But I know there's a lot more out there. I talked to a young man today who was interested in sending them the information for both the bowl and the showcase. So make sure you check out QueenCitySeniorBowl.com. So Huff moving up to number 1 after being number 2 for the win over Chambers. Chambers drops to number 2. Providence stays still at 3, Catholic 4, Kings Mountain 5, Weddington 6. Mallard Creek moves up to 7. Independence dropped to 8 with a close loss to Catholic. Moves up Butler up from the edge to number 9. Christian goes from 9 to 10. South Point 10 to 11. Olympic 11 to 12. And then Mooresville joins the Baker's dozen from the edge at 13. And then on the edge, you got Argykill, Burns, Lake Norman, and Crest.
It's like that new NFL position they have for drafts now, the edge position. What the hell is that? I don't know.
I know what
the quarterback.
I know what this is. I can explain this.
Chat administrator, look, I'm trying to give you guys some respect here. Now, before, I didn't have you guys in consideration, but out of the kindness of my heart and reconsideration, I have included you guys in the Greater Metro 4. Now, if you don't want to reject 13th, that's fine.
Go ahead and edit the slide right now.
It's going to be one or the other. You either in or you out.
Edit the slide then. He doesn't want it. Take him out. Right click on the slide and delete and put him down there on the edge then. That's what he wants. He just followed his instructions. He said no. So move him down there.
Get the little telestrator and just mark the route.
It's like a graded paper. Just cut through it, man.
Well, let me get that red line edit.
There you go.
What do you guys think here?
Well, that swap from 1 and 2 is obvious. I mean, that has to happen right now. So that's a given. Skimming through, Kings Mountain still going. Mallard Creek's trending up. Independence shouldn't drop too much. They lost against a great team, losing against current number 4. So that makes sense. No, I'm not. I have nothing to really argue about right here.
All right. We talked on 7:30 ESPN. We talked about how Independence lost because the host was at that game. And once I heard how they lost the game, I was really, really more impressed with Independence because they had the ball on first down with 57 seconds left, and Charlotte Catholic only had 1 timeout. And according to the host, Independence threw an interception. That's how Catholic got the ball back, went down and scored and got the 2-point conversion to win the game after that happened. So once I heard that, I'm like, man, and then I remember seeing, DJ's comments on Twitter. So, it's one of those things where, teams that are, taking that next step, they learn, how to win close games. And Independence will be so much better from going through that experience. And then, Charlotte Catholic with the heart of a champion, man, that's crazy. That's amazing. That's amazing. Let's see here. Stefan White, thanks for watching. I would like to see Huffer Chambers play South Oak Cliff or Duncanville from Texas. I think that would be a show. Well, you got a way of setting that up. Let me know. I think a lot of people.
CFI presents.
We can do it. We've hosted scrimmages and jamborees before, so we can do it. You got a contact? Let me know. Let's see. Chat administrator. Curious, I haven't seen Chambers or Providence Day. How much of a gap do we think there is between those two? Well, I think if you looked at that hypothetical matchup, I think it goes back to what we talked about earlier about how much, depth is there for Providence Day to handle the waves of players that Chambers can throw at you. That's the big key because we know the top end talent matches. We know that, but it's that secondary. How long can Providence Day stay in there for fourth quarters, against Chambers? And Providence Day has guys going both ways. Chambers doesn't really have much of that. So that's when you really start thinking about that. And we know the top talent at PD, but we don't know how much depth there is in that roster. So, and we could, take a look at it and figure it out if they were to ever play. But obviously, that's not going to happen. But top end talent, they're ranked where they are for that reason, And for Providence Day, they, for them, they've been blowing out a lot of people. So, they've got tough games coming up though. I think Rabun Gap in Georgia. I think Charlotte Christian, will be tougher games for them. So that'll give us a bit of a measuring stick on, a hypothetical matchup, at least a little bit. All right, let's go to the county rankings right here. Also sponsored by the Queen City Senior Bowl. Mecklenburg, we got Huff, Chambers, Providence Day Catholic. Upstate South Carolina did make one change. Indian Land lost to Parkwood. A bit of an upset. Parkwood knocking off Indian Land in Indian Land last week. So I dropped them down to 4. That was their first loss. Moved Catawba Ridge up to 3. And Catawba Ridge and South Point will play in a huge game this Friday night. Not Friday. Thursday night. Thanks, Hurricane Ian. But that's exam time for Catawba Ridge, for sure, right there. And in Gaston County, I was supposed to make a change on. What is that? I made a change for Gaston County. Oh, I did. Okay, I see it. So I moved Sarsview up to number 2. They've won. Was it 3 in a row, Joe?
Yeah, they're 3-2 now after starting 0-2.
Yes. So they've got it going down there. So I moved them up to 2. Stuart Kramer 3, and then Ashbrook 4. Cleveland County's been remaining the same since the pre-conference, pretty much. Union County have moved Porter Ridge above Monroe thanks to their victory, head-to-head 24-20 last Friday. And then in Cabarrus, we got Hickory Ridge, J.M. Robinson, A.L. Brown, and then Cox Mill. So I know Northwest Cabarrus is 5-1. I know they've been playing well since that Cox Mill loss. But that head-to-head with Cox Mill, just, really putting a beating on them. I can't move them up in good conscience because of the just score gap there was just so large. Chat Administrator's got his Iredale plays football 2 rankings. Now he's got Mooresville 1. Now he's got Mooresville 1. Couldn't wait to do it. Lake Norman 2, Pine Lake 3, and South Iredale 4. You couldn't wait to do it. Oh man, the Lake Norman people are not gonna be happy with you, Chat Administrator. What do you guys think on the county rankings?
Yeah, it's tough to rank.
Like every week, yeah.
I think Cabarrus County is right. Obviously, you have a huge matchup. A.L. Brown and Cox Mill has been moved to Monday for that game. That will decide a lot. Hickory Ridge's losses are to very good football teams. J.M. Robinson's only loss is to a 4A team. They've beaten a 4A team now in Cuthbertson. J.M. Robinson's kind of in a good little conference right now to win a whole bunch of games really big and to get some stats up, minus a couple of teams. But I like it, Pep. I like where you are.
Awesome. Let's see. Chat Administrator says Monday will decide, but he would flip Cox Mill and A.L. Brown. Okay.
Yeah, Monday will. A.L. Brown's lost 2 straight games, right, after being 3-0. So how do they respond to that? How do they respond to extra days? Plus you have to remember this is tough because now coaches are now not only looking at that Monday matchup, but they're also looking for 4 days later Friday matchup as well. And then stuff starts to get just combobulated in your head, right? What was that this week or Friday's game that has that 3 technique that does that? So that plays a lot into it. Plus, you have extra time to maybe add a couple of things, right? A couple of new wrinkles. But that's a huge game. Yeah, huge game.
Absolutely. Oh, let's see. Bessemer City Yellow Jackets. What's up? What's up, Bessemer City? Joe, what can you tell me about Bessemer City, man? I know didn't they just get their first win?
They won 2 in a row.
2 in a row. Okay.
Yeah. Put up 60 points against Highland Tech this past week. Gerard's son, Jamir, quarterback for Bessemer City, has had 5 touchdown passes in each of the past 2 games. Set a new school record in that regard. One of his receivers, Javontre Duff, if I remember correct, he has 12 catches this year, and 7 of them have gone for touchdowns. So,
that man the ball.
Right.
Exactly. I like that's a pretty good return rate. So,
hey, Jared, you gotta send me them stats, man. We gotta put them on Pepman's players, man.
10
Come on now.
You ain't been a Pepman's player yet?
Good gracious. God, we got to do some retroactive players or something. Oh, Stephon White waiting on that Forest Hills. Hey, yeah.
Should be a good one.
That should be a good one. I want to see Forest Hills, man. We gotta figure out when we're gonna see Forest Hills.
Averaging like 40 points a game, something crazy like that.
Yeah, we gotta figure that out. All right, let's go over to the most controversial rankings on Instagram. The CMS Best of Last, and I'm a little concerned because I got a lot of love about the Best of Last, and I tell you, he's not on here, but Derek Chambers gave me some love both on Twitter and Instagram.
I bet so. You got Mallard Creek at 3, so yeah. I at this point, maybe later he will, but at this point, I mean, he can't complain at all about that.
Nah. There's only one way he can move up after right now.
Well, they'll have their opportunity. Yeah, it is coming up. Top 3 are all in the Queen City Conference. Huff, Chambers, Mallard Creek, Independence at 4, Butler 5, Olympic 6, RGKL 7. West Charlotte moves up to 8 with the win over West Meck, who is at 9, North Meck 10. And then you see who's on the right side right there. So, any grievances with the Best of Last? Chat administrator, I need my hashtag. I ain't seen it in a while because there's been a lot of grievances this year. There's been a lot of grievances. Remember, if you have a grievance, use the email. Nobody's used the email, so I'm doing something right here. But no grievances. The chat administrator's at work. He might be actually working for a minute. So we'll get that hashtag, but y'all know what the hashtag is.
I thought I thought being the chat administrator was his job.
I mean, he's at work, man. I mean, that's a high level of dedication to be on Football Focus Weekly while you're at work.
He is chat administrator.
Not a high level of dedication to his work, though.
Being a chat administrator.
I ain't worried about that.
Being a chat administrator is his work, is his job, man. Full time position.
Nikisha! That's close enough.
Wait, are there 2 emails now?
Well, she kind of put the hashtag with the email, but y'all get the point.
Okay.
No grievances. Hey, we're all good. Engine, you got a message right here.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
You didn't let me know. I was there. Let me tell you. I got some fried fish and French fries and hush puppies. Boy, what you talking about? I texted the group. I've never been to a college football game where they got fried fish vendors out there. What you talking about? And that stadium, Truist Field, Truist Stadium, whatever they call it? Truist. That is the loudest stadium, not holding 70,000 people, that I've ever been in. Whenever A&T scores, that bowl is rocking. Holy cow, man. What a great experience.
He is telling the truth about his text. He was very excited.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Derek Chambers,
You summoned him.
brother. Thank you for the love, man. I'm glad it took 7 weeks to finally satisfy you. I'm very happy. I'm very happy, man. Very happy. Thank you, sir.
Now I want a quick sandwich.
North Carolina Central. Let's see. I think South Carolina State plays. No, South Carolina State plays North Carolina Central down in Orangeburg this year. That's my next.
Nikisha, we have been friends for how many years, and you have never invited me to a tailgate.
But I will hold you up to that one. No doubt.
We're going to have a talk. We'll have a talk about this. I'm very disappointed. I'm very disappointed right now. All right.
North Carolina Central's balling though right now. Holy cow.
Let's move on. I'm mad. All right. We got a big game this week down in Belmont, South Point. Crest coming in at, what are they, 5-1?
Crest is 4-1, 2-0 in conference. South Point is 5-0, 2-0 in conference.
All right. Well, Joe Hughes, this is your territory, man. Give us the breakdown on Crest at South Point.
All right. Of course, Crest comes in 4-1 on the year. Their only loss was to Burns. And, of course, Atavius Husky, the connection to Javarius Green has been absolutely awesome this year. If I remember correctly, they've connected for 12 touchdowns, and he actually has another touchdown on a punt return. Javarius Green, that is. But we know exactly what they're going to do in this football game. They're going to try to throw the football and use their athleticism to really counteract whatever South Point tries to do defensively. As for South Point, they're going to be more ground-based. They're led by Cam Medlock, who has 13 touchdowns on the ground already himself. And they're going to try to grind the game out and use their size and skill on the offensive line to really wear down a smaller Crest defense. It should be a good football game. It's a very good contrast in styles, and I really can't wait for the game. Last year's games were incredible. Both of them very well played and really came down to the end on both accounts. You really can't go wrong picking either team, to be honest, because you really just don't know how the game is going to go or flow. So I'm looking forward to it.
We will have Sumter Productions will be there. He covered that game last year with another outlet, and he told me on was it Tuesday that he was going back to South Point. He's very excited. So you guys have seen his highlights. He does an amazing job. So
I think South Point has only given up like 50-ish points this year, right? 5 games, 50 points.
Yeah, I think they're giving up. I looked it up and actually averaged it out to around 10.8 per game, something around there. I'm really eager to see exactly how Jaquise Rumpf and Will Ross, how they deal on the outside against those guys, against very strong guys of Javarius Green and Malachi Addison, both who had pretty big games against them in both of those games last year. So I'm really eager to see the chess match, especially with Coach Soseby now in the fold, and he was brought in to really win these type of football games. So this is kind of one of those first really big ones with real consequence. Let's see exactly what's there for Crest.
well said. I think for South Point, pass rush is going to be key. We see all these beautiful highlights of Green and those guys and Tater Husky making plays. The one thing I see in those highlights, he got time. He had a lot of time to make those plays. If South Point's pass rush can get home, they ain't going to have that much time. And that's going to, shut down the threat of the big play. And a lot of people always feel like they can throw on South Point because the weakness traditionally has been in the secondary. But like you said, Joe, I'm real interested to see, how South Point gets after the passer. And then how well Crest, can combat that and try to slow down the South Point run game, which is another challenge in itself. So either way, it's going to be a great football game in Belmont Thursday night. Are you surprised they moved the game? Because, the rain would definitely favor South Point.
They like money. Belmont likes their money, man. They're one thing about Belmont, they are not going to skimp on the buck. They love their money.
Oh, there you go. Olympic at Palisades. This game is on here because Palisades opened primarily on the strength of Olympic High School. Palisades is down in the Lake Wiley area right before you get to the South Carolina border on South Tryon Street. Olympic has had that area for a long time since they've been open. It's going to be, I don't want to call it a rivalry yet, but we know these schools are eager to play each other. When I visited Palisades when they had their midnight practice, they were asking me, man, come to the Olympic game, come to the Olympic game. And then the Olympic players were saying, you going to be here when we play Palisades? So it's a big game from that perspective, but, it's a tale of two different seasons, obviously. Olympic having a great season, undefeated so far. Quarterback Elijah Holmes is really having a special year at that position. They've got a really good defensive line. I hate young, talented man. Raphael Brown was a really good defensive end. Was having kind of a bit of a breakout season his senior year. He broke his arm, unfortunately. He's out for the season, and I hated that. I spotlighted him before the season. I felt like he was a breakout candidate, and he was doing really well. Elite Narn, big 22 defensive tackle, is having a really good year. Sterling Green was a Pepman player. He's one of their main playmakers on the offensive side of football. We haven't talked much about Olympic because, they haven't had that signature win yet. Even though they've been playing very well and they're undefeated, they haven't had a signature win yet. They're favored here against Palisades, obviously. But, you get into these games and, weird things happen when you play your rival. And, Palisades will be emotionally fired up for sure. And they'll be eager to try and prove something, to the Trojans, where a lot of former Trojans are now on that Palisades team, including quarterback Jarek Patulski and offensive lineman Kamari Lawson. So you get into these games, you got to be sure that you're ready to play and be ready to go out and do your best. And don't let the emotions get the best of you. That's the main thing. Stay focused on your assignment, alignment, and assignment, and go out there and do what you're coached to do at the end of the day. All right. Aiden Hunley, thanks for watching. What do you think about Mooresville and Providence? Typically, we stay on the script, but, real quick, obviously Providence is the run game. It's the run game. It's all about Luke Bailey and that big offensive line. Mooresville's key, they have to stop, Luke Bailey in the run game at all costs. 8-9 guys in the box make someone else from Providence beat you, is what I think. And then on the flip side, for Providence, it's almost kind of the same thing. Jamir Cherry made great plays at the quarterback spot last week against Hickory Ridge, but it starts with Jawan Howell and Westmoreland in the running game. So, hey, you got to sell out, you got to be smart, you got to stop the run, and if Cherry beats you, it is what it is. But you got to take away their number one thing, and that's the run game for both of these teams right here. So this game starts at 7 o'clock. It may be done by 8, but there's your breakdown, Aiden. Anyone else got something to add?
Unless it's a 15-minute half, Pep. 48 plus 15, so it might be 803, 804.
Oh, man.
These are the best type of games right there.
The wives are happy on those nights.
All right, let's take a look at the Battle of Allegheny. We got Harding and Berry, both teams with one win on the season. It was both over Garinger. So this game was, of course, built on the fact that these schools are on the same street, literally about less than half a mile away from each other. You can walk to the game, and we tried to do that. They wouldn't let us do that. But both of these schools I think are in a similar place. You saw our CMS best of last rankings; they're right beside each other. They both have talent on both sides of the football. And then when you start looking at it, the key is both of these teams, when they're successful, their athletes make plays. You look at Cam Macon for Barry. You look at Diego Parks for Harding. You look at Demetrius Hargroves for Barry. You look at Keyshawn Jackson for Harding. Those guys are the playmakers. And the winner of this game, it comes down to the fact that which team's playmakers are going to make the most plays, because there's going to be opportunity there. They're evenly matched. This game has not been, close in recent years, but I think this one has a chance to really be a good close game, for 4 quarters. And they're playing for the Battle of Allegheny Trophy. There's a trophy every year. They put it out at midfield at pregame, and then the winner usually runs and snatches it off the other team's sideline, and they celebrate. So me and producer will probably be at this game Friday night. I hadn't made the final decision yet, but we'll probably be at the Battle of Allegheny. Hadn't covered one in a while. I don't know why. It just hadn't worked out that way.
It's been some time. I was going to say, I don't think there's any rivalry out there where the schools are in closer proximity. So the people ain't aware. It's literally about half a mile. You go through one intersection, one stoplight, and you're there. You can literally walk there in about 10 minutes. It's just really close.
Absolutely. So I think we'll pick this game later on, and I still don't know who I'm picking. Let's see. We got another comment right here. Yes. Butler held Luke Bailey to -2 yards rushing and the Providence offense to 13 total yards. That is accurate. I got those stats from Coach Hales, who sent them to me. He also wanted me to highlight, and I don't know. I guess my slide didn't save, but I had a couple of players from Butler I wanted to highlight. Well, I'll highlight them right here because I remember their names. Linebacker Tyquan Rankin had 10 tackles in that game for Butler in the big win. And then linebacker J.J. Coleman, who was top 5 at HBCU Carolina Showcase, had 7 tackles and 3 tackles for loss in that same game. So we talked about Butler before. They're strong defensively. That's where a lot of their senior leadership is and strength of that team is. And I saw what Luke Bailey did in setting a state record, and -2 yards rushing is pretty dang on impressive, if not unbelievable. So kudos to Butler, and a great performance by those guys right there. All right. Let's see. Let's talk about. We had an earlier comment. I think someone asked if we were going to talk about this game. Let me find that comment because I want to highlight that person that asked it. So it was pretty early in the show. But we're talking about West Rowan and Northwest Cabarrus. Here we go. Jordan Stockton. I hope you're still watching, Jordan. Northwest and West Rowan. It's a great matchup. So, Engine. In your territory, West Rowan and Northwest Cabarrus, if I can talk. What can we look for in this one? Both of these teams are playing really well right now.
Both teams are 5-1. West Rowan began the season beating Salisbury, which was maybe a surprise to a lot of people. Salisbury is 5-1. They've won 5 in a row since then, and they beat them handedly. They've also beaten North Rowan, who is a 1A powerhouse every single year, just athlete after athlete after athlete. And their lone loss was to a really good Form 1 Mooresville team. So West Rowan is a good football team offensively. They are very explosive. And, of course, Northwest Cabarrus, is having a great year, a year they haven't had in about 4 years. Coach Mormon, I believe this is his 3rd year. They're definitely the best start to the year. They probably they might have already won more games than they won last year, honestly. But they beat a 4-2 Mount Pleasant team. They lost to a really good Cox Mill team that we've already talked about. After that, they don't have that huge signature win once again. Mount Pleasant's their biggest win to date. So a Northwest Cabarrus game, I think they're playing at Trojan Stadium. The Northwest Nutties are just buck wild. They show up, they show out, they're loud, they are obnoxious. They do everything crazy. And of course, the stadium, Pep, you've been there. You sit, you can just about reach out and touch the officials when you're sitting on the front row. This is going to be a loud game. This is going to be a packed house game, weather permitting. I guess they're played on Thursday. Yep, Cabarrus County is all played on Thursday, except for Cabarrus County. This should be, except for A.L. Brown, this should be a great game, a great atmosphere for high school football.
Absolutely, man. I'm impressed with the way Northwest Cabarrus has bounced back since that Coxville loss. We kind of alluded to it earlier. You lose a big game like that, your season can kind of go two different ways. I mean, you can either respond to it or you can just kind of keep feeling sorry for yourself. But they've taken it, internalized it, and they are now delivering, some really impressive results with Coach Mormon and those guys, up at Northwest Cabarrus.
2 weeks ago, I talked about their quarterback, Alex Walker, and I said I can't remember if he's a junior or senior because he started since he was a freshman, and it feels like he's been there for 8 years already. So I had to look it up. He is a junior, Alex Walker, who is just doing great things, the leader of that offense, and an exceptional quarterback, man. He is really, really good.
Yeah, we'll be picking this game in a minute as well, and I don't know where I'm going on that. All right, real quick on the last two. Mallard Creek is going on the road to take on North Meck. We opened the show talking about Coach Hammond, the tragic loss of, him and what he gave to that Mallard Creek program for so long since 2010 that, Quentin Brown shared in the beginning of the show. When you're playing with emotion, it can really do some things, to you, especially when you're going out there and, you've been building for so long, and
sorry, Pat, North Mac beat them last year.
Yes, that too. I was getting to that too. Yeah. So there's a lot of motivation on Mallard Creek's side when you're going into this game. North Meck is coming off a bye, so I think the big key for North Meck is they got to match the intensity that Mallard Creek is going to bring from the start. And when you don't play, sometimes it can be hard, to get that motor going again. But this is a big key game, in the Queen City because now Mallard Creek has been rolling pretty good. They got through that non-conference schedule and they've been playing really well, knocking off teams by decisive margins the last couple of weeks in West Charlotte and Hopewell. For North Meck, man, if they want to have a shot at challenging for the upper part of the conference, this is a game that they got to win. And as you said, Ken, if they won this game last year, can't be complacent. This is a much different Mallard Creek football team. And like we said, they're playing with a lot of emotion. So you got to be ready to step up and meet the challenge for sure. And then Parkwood at Forest Hills. I feel like this is an interesting game too because, once again, we kind of in the same breath of Olympic. Forest Hill's best win so far is against Charlotte Latin. Mm-hmm. Is it a signature win? That can be debated. I know it was a big win for their program because Charlotte Latin, kind of walked the dog with them last year. But this Parkwood team, they just upset Indian Land at Indian Land, an undefeated Indian Land team. Now they're going into a county rival who is undefeated. So Parkwood, they're on an upward trend, ever since that game. We just talked about Northwest Cabarrus. Giving up a state record is that can really demoralize you as a team. Now I felt like, in that game, Parkwood played well on offense, but obviously defensively, they had some struggles. But since that game, they've taken it, and they had a tough loss to Marvin Ridge, but they were competitive in that game. They knocked off Indian Land, so they're trending the right way. But big key, can Forest Hills, slow down the Parkwood offense? I think it's a big question with Wisdom Holmes at running back really looking good in all the games this season. I've been watching his films, and he's really, really good. I think he's under-recruited. I think he's a little bit hurt by his size, but he can play. He can really play. So those are the big games. Of course, there's other big games we talked about also sprinkled in there, but these are some of the spotlight games this week. Let's go ahead and jump over to what we did last week in our predictions. It was not a good week for me, but you guys had a pretty good week. So Engine, you went 4-2. Producer, you were 3-3. I was 2-4. Big Shelby went 3-3, and then Joe, you went 4-2.
If that daggone Nordy Dame team wouldn't have came out of nowhere in the second half, I would have been pretty good last week.
We're not going to talk about that bonus game. I still might appeal on that one. I might file an appeal, man. You gave me info after I picked.
There's no appeal process, just like the NCHSA. Can't appeal.
But Joe uses 9-3 overall.
No, the guest host is 9-3 overall. We had Coach Johnson.
Oh, that's right.
When we started doing the guest host, so
man.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Shelby, 18-18.
I'm tied with Big Shelby, man. This is not good. This is not good. This is not good, man. So, anyway, hey Mizzle, what's up, man? Good to see you, man. All right, Week 7 predictions. Let's get it going. All right, Crested South Point. Let's go, producer. You go first on this one.
South Point.
All right, Joe. Joe, you on mute.
Yeah, I'm on record as taking Crest.
All right. Engine.
Boy, now Joe's making me second guess myself. South Point.
All right, I'm gonna take Crest. Also with Joe on that one. All right, Stuart Kramer. Yeah, it is. But I'm gonna ride with the passing game. We'll see what happens. Stuart Kramer at Hunter Huss. All right, Engine, you got this one first.
Kramer.
All right, Joe.
I'm going Huss.
Producer.
Oh.
Producer.
Let me go Stuart Kramer.
Stuart Kramer. I'm going to stick with Joe again. I'm going to go Hunter Huss as well.
Well, I'm not going to be able to sleep now from those two. Okay, thank you, Joe.
All right, Battle of Allegheny, Harding at Berry. Joe, you got the first shot here.
Go Berry.
All right, producer.
I'm going to go with my heart on this one. Harding.
Engine.
I'm going to go with my head on this. Philip O'Berry.
All right, I'm going with the Harding Rams. Let's go. I picked them several years ago to win, and they let me down. But I'm going with it again because, I don't learn my lesson. All right. West Rowan at Northwest Cabarrus. I'll go first on this one. I'm going to go with Northwest Cabarrus. All right, Engine.
West Rowan.
Oh, now I feel bad. Joe.
I'm going West Rowan as well.
All right, producer.
Northwest Cabarrus.
All right. Cuthbertson at Sun Valley. Let's go, Joe. You got first here.
All right, let's go with Cuthbertson.
All right. Producer.
Cuthbertson.
Engine.
Cuthbertson.
Clean sweep for Cuthbertson. And the bonus, both teams are 5-0. Pine Lake going into Christ the King. Engine.
I'm rolling my man, Coach Trotter, baby. Go Pine Lake.
All right, Joe.
Pine Lake big.
Oh, okay.
Now, does he get a bonus point for saying big? If they I didn't know that. He might have to reboot and not go back and say big. But anyway.
Producer.
I'm going to go Pine Lake.
All right. Clean sweep for Pine Lake right there. I saw a poll where Christ the King was ranked 10th in the state in 1A.
Wow.
So that's something.
It's not going to work this time. You see how he likes to throw in the tidbits after you pick? But no, it's not going to work this time. You got me once.
Just after we picked.
Exactly. I'm still gonna.
We all picked the same.
I'm fine with it this time, man. Your tactics won't work this time.
What tactics? We all picked.
I'm talking about last week, man. That bonus game.
Oh man, come on, man. Good gracious.
I'm not gonna file the appeal. I'm just gonna look forward, man.
I will buy you a hot dog at the Battle of Allegheny. Good gracious, jeez.
Carolina Bearcats.
Right.
Come on, man.
See?
All right. Do we have? I think we pretty much talked about our comments tonight. They were been pretty good during the show. Uh, yeah, Nikish, it's you've been on Allegheny Street. There's two schools are on the same street. Yeah. Yeah, near Freedom. Yeah. Okay. All right. Man, I've been waiting on this all day because I got a big one. But let's go to your favorite segment on CFI with your favorite host, who is definitely not me.
You know what time it is? It's slime time when we let the world know exactly who hasn't done us right in one way or the other. I know he's got kids at the house, so I'm going to go ahead and start with Joe Hughes. Who are you sliming tonight?
All right, everyone. We all know exactly what happens when it rains. People get angry. They want to take out their umbrella. They want to do this. They can't drive, can't do that. But one thing that we've probably learned from COVID is that we've had to learn to adjust and learn how to be uncomfortable. This weekend is going to be one of those where we actually have to go from our Friday night customs and actually move them to a Thursday night. We got to play Thursday. The reason has nothing to do with, hey, people are soft. No, people are trying to protect their money. That's something that we all want to do, something we all have to do. Athletic departments are no different. We got to learn to be flexible, and there's no better example than this. I'm sliming those that just don't want to be flexible, especially with something in regard to high school football.
I like it. Joe, super producer Brandon, who are you sliming on tonight?
Surprisingly, the Panthers are off the hook for this week anyway. Panthers, I know Baker Mayfield was watching and really nervous, but no, I'm leaving the Panthers alone. They got a week off. I'll just slime Ian. Hurricane Ian, that is. Yes, I'm sliming a storm for making us scramble and change our weekly flow, but it's fine. We're gonna adjust, and like Joe said, we're gonna keep it moving, and we're gonna be fine. We're gonna be flexible, so we're gonna get it done still, despite the inconvenience of a storm. We're still gonna get it done.
Yeah, I'll go next. I know Pepman said he's got something big he's been waiting on. I am slamming myself because last weekend I spent about 20 hours in my yard mowing, aerating, overseeding, weaseling in all my bare spots, putting down starter fertilizer, and then just a general concoction of goodies plus topsoil that I bought and brought in. Turf type tall fescue takes about 10 days to see seed germination. That's if you do everything right and you get the good stuff. I put my seed down on Sunday. Hurricane Ian is supposed to be here on Friday. I'm not very good at math, but I think that's somewhere about 5 or 6 days. I don't know. Depends on how you add up that first day. There's a good chance I live at the bottom of 2 hills that I lose some of my seed, which means that my wife is not going to be very happy with me because grass seed is super expensive right now. So I'm going to slime myself despite the hours and hours and hours that I spent in my yard this weekend. Slime myself.
And you're trying to get
Pepman. I got my knuckleheads beside me. Who are you sliming on?
Man, I'm sliming traffic. It has been ridiculous this week. I don't know what's going on, but these people, and I live, out west in Gastonia area, but It has taken me over an hour to get to work every single day this week, and I'm tired of it. You know, they talk about they're going to widen 85, they're going to put more lanes in. It doesn't make a difference, man. People can't drive. Today, you know, is a long ride coming home as well, and there are people out here driving like they're freaking Richard Petty on the highway, and you're not going anywhere. All 4 lanes are going 15 miles an hour, and this stupid person was weaving in and out of traffic trying to pass people and get somewhere. Sir, you're not that important. Go sit down somewhere, and I'm tired of it. Learn how to drive and respect people. And yes, get off my lawn. I am that man, and I'm tired of this. It's ridiculous. We gotta fix it, man. We gotta fix it. People got places to go. I got games to cover. I got food to eat. I got work to do. Fix it. It's stupid. Good night, everybody. I'm done.